Good evening, folks. Freddie Vasquez with Basement Politics Unfiltered. Happy Sundays, November 27, 2022. The Spano years.
Freddie wins.
Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Thank you for joining me tonight. Let's talk about the mayor, Mike Spano. Let's go over the Spano years. Tonight, we're going to start with 2011. It's the year the mayor ran for office for the first time. Back then, he was an assemblyman, a Republican. Today, he is the mayor, seeking a fourth term as a Democrat. Good evening, folks. How you doing, Yonkers? Welcome to Basement Politics. Thank you to all the new folks that are out here joining me. Thank you to those who have been watching the show. I appreciate you guys, of course. Thank you to all those who have been sharing lately, who have been supporting, sending me emails, pictures, flyers. We'll get into that in a little bit. Tonight, I want to start off my series, the Mayor Spano years. And I welcome you guys to chime in, of course. And I will be discussing Mayor Mike Spano. This is the talk, right? They extended the terms. Most likely, Mike Spano will be running. According to his brother, the city clerk, he will be running. He knew that back October 21st. Let's see what all started this. Mike Spano ran for office in 2011 for the first time. Well, actually, I believe he ran against Amacone and lost. But eventually, Amacone would term out, giving Mike Spano an opportunity to run. 2011, he was a former assemblyman. And now that Amacone had termed out a lot of people in the race, right? There's 6 people in this race. Chuck Lesnick being one of them. There was another guy that I'd never even heard of. But I'm going to show you a few clips of this debate on News 12 tonight, and then we'll discuss it. That's right, Mario. Let's get it prop. That's right. Thank you, folks, for joining me. JP, good to see you on the podcast. How you been? I want to show this clip here. Let's start. This is the mayor introducing himself. And I want you guys to take notice how he starts this debate. This is him introducing himself. Listen, tell me what you notice. I noticed it right away.
Viewers, what I'd like to do before I even begin my opening statement is, I guess when you're middle-aged, the biggest worry you have is when one of your elderly parents gets hurt. My mom fell down a flight of steps this morning. I just came from the hospital, and she is going to be ready to go undergo surgery. Thank God she has 15 other children that are there with her, and I just want to let my mother know, because I know at some point, Mom, you'll be watching this, that I love you, and we know you're going to be fine, and keep the spirits up. My grandfather came here to Yonkers over 100 years ago, and came here with his family and with a vision, and he wanted to start an ice and coal business, and they did that, and they had a set of values that they were going to give to their children to take on from generation to generation. The Spano family doesn't deliver ice and coal anymore, but my wife and I continue to raise our children here, and we've instilled those values in our children. That's why this race for mayor is so important. Yonkers is at a crossroads. We can continue to elect the people who have been running for Yonkers for quite some time and worry about whether or not we're going to have a crisis next year, worry about whether or not our children are going to have the educational needs that they need, or whether or not our trash is going to get picked up. Or we can have a new approach. And that's what this debate is about today, and I'm looking forward to having this discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Spano. All right.
So, Romero, you got it right away. He started with a sob story, and that's known as the sympathy vote. I learned that. The sympathy vote, right? And so if you have a tragic story, it's good to put it out there. It warms people's hearts, gives them sympathy, and now they're more open, right? Their walls come down a bit, right? And that's what Lakeisha Collins Bellamy did on Tuesday night's meeting when she started the meeting with the unfortunate passing of a family member, which we send our condolences and have very much respect for, and do not, make light of that or anything. But the point I'm saying is that, you start with a story that people can kind of relate to and warm up to. He talks about his mom, who doesn't love a guy who loves his mom, right? And so that's how he starts off. Good tactic. Mike Spano was a Republican, but he switched to a Democrat. And so he was running here for the mayor's office, or the mayor's position as a Democrat with the Democratic Party's endorsement. How did he do that? How did he do that? They went and got the Republican to endorse him. News 12 debate, that was News 12. I found it interesting that Mike Spano would start by talking about his mother. I said that, right? He tells he loves her. He talks about his grandfather, their family business, delivering coal and ice, right? But interestingly enough, he said Yonkers is at a crossroads. And yes, here we are again in 2022. Yonkers is at a crossroads. And like Mayor Mike Spano said back in this debate in 2011, are you going to elect the same old individuals, or are you going to vote for change? It's time for change. They talk about the educational needs not being met. And it's interesting what they say. And I want to let Chuck Lesnick speak a little bit, right? Because according to Lesnick, right, he says Yonkers is always crime broke and they're always going to the state, and the state doesn't give us enough money, right? It's the same old routine, the same old lines that we get year after year. But our kids don't get any more money. Our kids still suffer, and so many others. So I want to play a little bit of what Chuck Lesnick had to say.
All three of you have mentioned the budget, and every year the city of Yonkers seems to careen from budget crisis to budget crisis. If you're elected mayor, Mr. Lesnick, let's start with you. How do you change that? How do you end this cycle of budget crisis after budget crisis?
Well, first we have to look to Albany, and that's what we do from the time the governor proposes his budget in January, and even before that, because it's well known that Yonkers doesn't get its fair share, and we work with our legislators to try to make that argument every year. Sometimes it works better than others. This year, it didn't work as well as it could have worked, and one of my opponents, Mr. Spano, voted for the governor's budget, which shortchanged Yonkers. So it put us in a crisis situation right away. Secondly, we have to look inward. We have to get our fiscal house in order. We can't be driving around in these big SUV gas-guzzling cars that taxpayers pay. We can't be wasting money with commissioners and deputy commissioners that are performing duplicate jobs, and we can consolidate better in government. And we have to really look at the outcomes. We get $18,000, $19,000 per child. Are we educating them to the best of our ability? Can we use new technology, new techniques? Can we better train our people?
I just want to show a little bit of what Chuck Lesnick said. He spoke about the cars, the vehicles, the take-home vehicles. Now, I know some of the commissioners have take-home vehicles. Do they need take-home vehicles? I know some commissioners may. Firemen, police, they're first responders. Absolutely. I think they need take-home vehicles. Does the building department commissioner need a take-home vehicle? Does our city council members, do they need take-home vehicles? And others who get take-home vehicles. Does the city clerk need a take-home vehicle? Let's listen to what Mike Spano has to say in regards to what Chuck Lesnick was saying just there on take-home vehicles and
you are up in Albany.
Fiscal
Is that a fair
problems we have here in
statement
Yonkers.
that it's Albany's fault that Yonkers has these problems every year?
Frankly, and I've always said that I don't think that the state capital gives enough towards education overall in New York State, and that's an argument that can be made not just here in Yonkers, but in many places in New York State. But where I have been critical of the local administration has been the fact that each and every year, it's more like when you watch The Wizard of Oz. When you ask the scarecrow, which way do you go? And in one hand goes this way, the other hand goes this way, and eventually they're doing this. But they never seem to point inward. They never seem to say, hey, we messed up. We can always make the case for more money for Yonkers. We can. But that's not the reason that we're in a fiscal crisis. We're in a fiscal crisis today because we are spending dollars we don't have.
Listen.
And that's the bottom line. And so as mayor, What I will do very clearly, number one, is go top to bottom on this budget and look to see where we can make cuts and where we can streamline and spend our tax dollars better. We want to make sure that we look at the overtime budget and look at how that's being spent, because clearly there's an issue with management here, and that's why the overtime budgets have ballooned for so many years. The cars, that's a symptom. We know it's a symptom to a bigger problem.
Listen.
200 cars is what the Yonkers has. Buffalo, it's a city much larger than Yonkers, has 100 cars. There's a problem when individuals are taking cars outside of Yonkers, outside the county, and driving places up county with wear and tear in our vehicles, the gas of our vehicles, and the insurance. That's the type of leadership that has been lacking here in Yonkers, and that's the type of leadership that I expect to put forth as mayor.
Mr.
So is that the leadership that we have seen, ladies and gentlemen, here in the city of Yonkers for the past 12 years? He starts by saying we need someone that's going to get in there and go through the budget top to bottom, see where they can make cuts. Sounds nice. I've said that. I'm not a politician, but that sounds nice, right? That's what we need to do. As a person who runs businesses, that's what you have to do. You want to minimize your expenses. You want to minimize your overhead, right? And so if you are in a fiscal problem, fiscal crisis, you have to make cuts. Absolutely. Cars, we have to weigh in. Are those important? Certain individuals, first responders, commissioners, they have to arrive on scene. Yes, they need a car. Does the building commissioner need a car? Back when Mike Spano was running for mayor in 2011, the city council, I believe, did not have cars. That actually came after Mayor Mike Spano. Does the city council members need to have take-home cars? And are any of them taking them out of the city? Rumors from people that Breen goes down to Jersey. That was reported in the Tribune. Corazon Pineda Isaac has been rumored to go across the bridge. She has been rumored to have crashed at least 4 to 5 cars, alleged. So what does her insurance premium look like? And other, wasteful spending, jobs that have been created, titles that have been created for individuals because they are a part of Friends and Family Network. And by now, many people know that the Friends and Family Network soak up a lot of the taxpayer money, a lot of the revenue that the city of Yonkers brings in. Yet back in 2011, Mayor Spano said he was going to cut this wasteful spending. But it seems like the spending has increased since Mayor Spano has been in office, and it continues to do so. I must add that Mayor Mike Spano is worth, according to sources online, $5 million. And granted, his wife makes a lot of money. She is a host of a national show on a national station. But how does a politician, acquire $5 million? It's a family of 15. Is that including Mary's money? Recently, Mary just put out a book. Many are saying you should read it. It's very interesting. I want to move on to the next clip here because I want to play the clips. I want to move along. Chuck Lesnick asked the question here, and I thought it was interesting. And Mike Spano jokes as saying, "Are you taking over the job now?"
So that instead of your best 3 years, it's your best 1 year that determines your pension in New York State, in person overtime cap. Now, part of the problem is that
legislators. I'm the only one that has strong executive management skills as a 45-year businessman. That's part of the
$1,000 cap. The city council responded by passing a $20,000 per person overtime cap. Now, part of the problem is that Mike Spano, when he was in the assembly, voted so that instead of your best 3 years, it's your best 1 year that determines your pension in New York State, in Yonkers. And that's why they're running up the bill. So I want to ask him, how does he take responsibility for that change that has cost Yonkers millions of dollars since he voted for it a dozen years ago? Would he have supported the overtime cap?
Oddly, I was going to ask the same question, not necessarily directly to
know he
Mr.
was
Spano.
anchoring today.
I know, he's doing my job. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Spano. I trust you would want to respond to that.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? If you remember, the city council had actually done a home rule message along with the mayor and actually put in place and getting authorization through the state on the final average salary. But that's not the issue.
A previous
The
city
issue-
council headed by Mr. Martinelli.
Exactly. That's not the issue. The issue here is the management of these dollars. When you see one particular individual make 300,000, I didn't see anyone in the council scream, let's offer the commissioner's head, because that's what should have happened. What should
Really?
have happened was a strong leader would have stood up and would have said, where's our overtime policy? And why is it that there are individuals that are making in excess of
Like your nephew?
$300,000 a year when you could hire probably another 2 or 3 officers? The amount of manpower that we have in the Yonkers Police Department is pre-9/11 levels. And that's a problem. And part of the problem is the fact that there isn't enough oversight or management of that budget that allows for these overtime costs to be out of control. And whether or not you want to get into this whole convoluted argument as to how management is distributed, because we all know that it's protected by the Constitution, you need to look at the management of the city, and that's what I'm going to focus my efforts on.
What I wanted to ask all three of you is, would you support a cap on overtime? Because the city council did approve a $20,000 cap for all city employees on overtime, unless specific exceptions were made, and the mayor vetoed it. Would you support a cap on overtime for Yonkers City employees, Mr. Spano?
I'm not going to support a cap. What I'm going to support is a rational overtime policy, because let's face it, if there is something exceptional happens, you need to make sure that you have the police personnel that are there and available. You don't start off by negotiating with labor as if they're enemies. And if you don't mind me just going off on that a little bit, what we've seen in the past few years has been the demonization of the local worker, the person who educates our children, the person who polices our neighborhoods. That's what we've seen, is a demonization of those workers. We treat them like enemies, and then we wonder why they act as enemies, and we wonder why our trash doesn't get picked up, or we wonder about some of the other things that are happening. My approach, a new approach, treat them like partners. They're 80% of our budget. It's time we bring them in, like we did in Albany this year. We brought labor in, and we made $500 million in savings, and that's what I expect to do in Yonkers.
Mr. Flower, would you support a cap on overtime, a hard cap like that, $20,000? Or do you have another idea?
Sorry, guys. You know what it is? I got a squeaky chair, and it makes noise, and I got to get rid of it. So I mute it, so I don't hear any noise. You know, that squeaking while they're playing the video, and I forget to unmute it. I apologize. I wish it wouldn't hear myself, right? But I can still hear myself even when it's muted. But I apologize. Yeah, I am pissed. I am. It was good 10 minutes. Nah, I don't know. I don't know about you, John. But anyway, what I was saying is that, he talks about having someone go in and, and by the way, actually, you know what? I'm glad that was muted because I really didn't want you guys to hear that anyway. Now, he talked about needing someone to go in there and go through the budget and make, cuts, from top to bottom, make necessary cuts. He spoke about the cars that they receive. And now actually they get more cars, right? The city council has cars that they take home. And then he also talked about labor and going in there and fighting for labor and making sure that the local labor gets the jobs here, but they have not. They have not gotten the jobs here, and I'm learning about, and I was mentioning this, that I'm learning about 456, right? The local union for local Teamsters 456, local, all that stuff. There's a building department 456, there's DPW 456, and then there's also the guys that and girls and ladies, men, women that do the construction work, right? That do work on the developments, who have not been getting any work on these developments. All of these, developments that have been going up have been utilizing outside contractors from Connecticut, Jersey, Rochester. And so many of the stuff that you hear Mike Spano talking about here, he has not done in the past 12 years. He has not gone through the budget from top to bottom and identified areas where he can make cuts. In fact, he has increased the amount of cars that city employees take home, like the city council. They get take-home cars. It's been rumored that Mike Breen goes down to the Jersey Shore in his take-home car. Corazon Pineda goes across the bridge in her take-home car. Right? So did he come in here and actually make necessary cuts and actually manage the money better than his predecessors, those who came before him? It seems like Mike Spano over the years have increased the expenses or the spending here in the city of Yonkers by creating jobs for friends and family, by allowing individuals like his nephew, Steve Squig, who's abused the overtime, according to sources and according to what we see with his salary. He said he wouldn't support a $20,000 cap, but he wanted to see, put a system put in place that would assure that overtime is just, right? If you're giving overtime, there's a reason for it. It's not being abused, but that's not happened. So what actually has Mike Spano done from what he's mentioned here? I want to play another video. I'm going to play a little bit more of this.
Well, I do have another. Let me tell you, more.
The union.
I think he just tried to allude that it wasn't, but clearly, if you listen to his words, it was legal. And let's talk about what's important here. What's important is that we have a leadership void in the city of Yonkers. Who's more invested in the future of our city than the men and women who work in our city? The people who educate our children, police our streets, clean our parks. They're invested in the future of our city. They live here, they work here, they're raising families here. I'm not going to apologize because men and women have endorsed my candidacy, but I will tell you this. I will have a seat at the table for labor, because like we did with working with Andrew Cuomo as governor, we brought CSEA to the table. We brought the other labor unions to the table, and we cut $500 million out of the state budget this year using our relationship, a good, solid relationship with labor. And you know what, Chuck? That's the only way we're going to do it. You continue your policy of treating them and demonizing them and making them the enemy. Well, then you know what? Then we're going to see more of the same. It's time for a new approach.
Guys, I got to take a quick break, but Mr. Flower, you wanted to make one comment.
Yeah, well, yeah. Two
Oh, I'm done. I'm up out of here. Folks, I'm up out of here. I'm cutting it out. I'm done. Maybe I got the audio. Honey, my wife used to watch the show for me, you know, and while I was live so she could tell me these things, and then she just didn't want to do that anymore. We had these like walkie-talkies and, you know, it sucks. Stupid thing. I'm just never going to mute it again, right? Just if you hear the squeaking in the chair, please don't mind, right? Right. Anyway, what I was saying is this, right? My closing talk was this. Basically, what has the mayor done, right? What has he done? All that he said there, what did he actually do, right? He said a lot of right things. He said things that we still need to do today, right? Things that I've said. We have to go through the budget, cut it from top to bottom, and see where we can cut wasteful spending, right? We have to do that. They talked about take-home cars, but now there are more take-home cars. The city council has take-home cars. Do they need that? I mean, they're taking them to the Jersey Shore, cross bridges. I mean, right? Why don't we take away the cars, right? And what I was saying is that whenever they talk about cuts, right, and having to make cuts, they always talk fire department, police, DPW, the schools, because they want you to be distracted. So then people can say, no, let's not make those cuts. No, we don't want cuts because we love our firemen. We love our police officers. We love our DPW. We love our teachers, and we absolutely damn do. So what they want us not to focus on is the cuts that we need to make with these cars that our city council get. The cuts that we need to make with people like Brenton Bullock. Why is he making $93,000 a year? And I'm not trying to knock you, Brenton, but I got a kid in the Yonkers public schools, and our schools need to be repaired. Our roads are shit, and they need to be repaired, Brenton. And I don't see the value in you. Just saying. If I have to make cuts, that's an executive decision. I'm going to do that. Why do they get the spreads? Why do they get to redo the offices? Why are there 2 city clerks, 3 city clerks? Why do we have 2 and 3 mayors, deputy mayors, I should say? How many aides do they have throughout City Hall? So when we talk about cuts and wasteful spending, that's where we need to start, up in City Hall. We don't need 2 deputy clerks. How many deputy mayors do we have? Tasha Diaz, you don't need an aide. You don't do much anyway. Okay, so whatever you do, you have another job? No, you don't. Okay, then you don't need an aide. Not for $93,000. Did the city clerk need to redo his entire office? Did they need to give themselves raises during the pandemic? Did they have to give away our city property for cheap? Did they have to give away so much of our tax revenue and tax breaks? So while Mike Spano talks about he is going to go in there and look at the budget from top to bottom and make the necessary cuts, we all know that in the past 12 years, he has not done that. He has increased the spending. He has added jobs for friends and family. He has not set a system in place that will determine whether or not the overtime that people are getting is justified. We all know his nephew was called out by sources. And so when I talk about making cuts and going into the different departments, I'm not saying departments as a whole, police, DPW, fire, the board. What I'm saying is we need to go into each department and see where are the waste, individuals that are not necessary, that were put there because they put a sign up at their businesses or they went door to door campaigning, but they don't have the skill. They don't have the talent to do what some of these guys, especially the union guys, do, right? The training that they've gotten. And it's sad when these guys worked hard, bust their ass, and they want to get promoted. They want to move on up. But they see a friend and family person get in there. Like Akeem Jamal. Let's take him for an example. How does his dad become the deputy commissioner of the IT department? Then he had a job making $90,000 a year as the director of communications. What was he communicating? What? And I hear his sister has a job, part-time, gets paid full-time. Mother too. I mean, come on. So has Mayor Mike Spano made the necessary cuts? Has he done a better job at managing the money than those who have come before him? He criticized them. He said it's a problem of money mismanagement more so than a problem of getting money from the state. He said, and they love to compare themselves to Buffalo. He said Yonkers has 200 city vehicles. Buffalo has 100, and Buffalo is a bigger city. And so I would imagine there are more cars out there now. And so everything that Mike Spano has said back in 2011 has not happened. Our schools have not improved. Come on. And by what standards? If we're comparing them to the worst, sure, they have. But is that something we're supposed to be satisfied with? Or should we demand more? And should we demand change? And it's time. Like Mike Spano said, we are at a crossroads here, folks. And you're either going to vote for change or you're going to vote for the same and continue to complain. Sure, some individuals are excited to see Mayor Mike Spano win again. They're going to get something for it, or they've already gotten something for it. They could care less about those that have suffered for years and areas that have suffered for decades, but are now being gentrified and the people are getting kicked out. They don't care. I mean, I had a source, works for the city, said they was laughing because some investors came and stuck a fake building apartment at 80 School Street. This is what they told me. How real is that? I don't know, but I have seen fake building apartment letters and private property, but at 80 School Street, and they said they were laughing because they must not realize that that was city-owned building or municipal housing-owned building. What's going on here in the city of Yonkers? And so while some of you are saying 4 more years, what you're also saying is push them out. We don't care. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. I apologize. No, it's not the it's not W40. You know what it is? Some screws came out of it, so now it lifts up and it's bothering me. Like I hate the squeaking of it. Where's DPW Romario Moore? Why he got arrested to use garbage truck to make money? Union gets his job back. But why would you say that, John Lewis? What's the point of you saying that? Right? I just want to know. What's the point of you saying that? There's a lot of guys that may have a past, right? You don't believe in second chances? I mean, is that a felony? Did he beat somebody over the head? Right? The man is speaking good things and you come in and make some negative. There's an agenda there. There's an agenda there. That's all I'm saying. Right? Vinny is the only face. He doesn't do the work. If Brenton comes in at 12, what time does he leave? 4, 930,000, 93,000 for 20 hours. They are robbing us. Well, that's the problem. You can't fire people in city union, always get jobs back. But some people shouldn't have been hired to begin with, right? So if a person, and I'm just learning, I think the internet, I'm sorry, the weather maybe. Sources are saying that the gentleman, the fireman, John D'Onofrio, had a conviction, a felony conviction before being hired, yet he was hired anyway. And now he was, arrested very recently this year for attempting to soliciting underage children or for sex. Yeah. And so they're saying, well, why was the guy hired? But John Lewis, I think you have an agenda, bro. That's a fake account anyway. Only in Yonkers can a 3-term mayor highlight on his own that average resident of the city makes $35,000 a year and have the city council hand him a 4th term just weeks later. This city needs to wake up. Well, I guess they were happy that, the other statistic was good. Another good one, Fred. Love, peace, and soul. Thank you, Romario. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. Look at his brother in Yonkers Police. Whose brother? My brother? Now Freddie's stuck in the Matrix, frozen. Oh, is it? Dang, man, it's the internet. Am I unfrozen? Am I unfrozen? I'm sorry. The internet must be the rain. But yeah, so, we have to look at individuals and individual cases. So I don't want to blame DPW, firemen, and all that, but cuts do need to be made. There's definitely a lot of family and friends, a lot of abuse that individuals are, taking advantage of because of their connection. People are being hired that should not be hired. How many lawsuits has the city had to pay already? And how many lawsuits will the city have to pay in the future? I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Thank you, folks. Mayors what? The Mayors brothers Are you trying to say something, John Lewis? You trying to say something? Why don't you be? Let's all learn. You know, the we're going into this whole, and this I'm gonna go. This is outside of Yonkers. We're all going through an evolution. Some of us will progress. Some of us will evolve. Others will stay, remain. You know. So we gonna evolve together? Some of you evolve with me. Let's start being good. Let's start doing good. We've all made mistakes in the past. We've all done something messed up, right? We all have. You know, for the most part, a lot of my mistakes didn't involve hurting other people. Okay. A lot of my mistakes didn't involve putting other people down so I could come up. You know what I mean? A lot of my mistakes was never to insult people or call them beggars, people that needed help, right? So we've all made mistakes, but we're going to get past that, right? And we're going to move forward and we're going to be good. You hear me, John? We're going to be good to each other. We're going to be loving. Come on, John, spill the beans. Yeah. Gerard Spano in Yonkers. Yeah, Gerard Spano's a Yonkers police officer. I think the mayor has no, but you talked about Romario, and I just wonder why, because I know Romario and I know him to be a good guy, right? And so again, no one is perfect, right? And so, we all have maybe made mistakes, but what is your mistake, right? And have you learned from that mistake, right? Some people hurt people and they continue to hurt people and they don't care. And that's not okay, right? But that's not a mistake that I made, right? I've made mistakes, but that's not one that I make. I don't hurt people. I don't put people down to bring myself up. I seek to help people. And what's sad is that oftentimes, and you guys have been able to witness that, publicly, that people have tried to help, have tried to bring me down. And I'm trying still to bring me down, right? So I'm fortunate. But I'm saying that, so we have to start to move forward together. You know what I mean? And so if you say something negative about somebody that's trying to be positive, then it seems like you may have an agenda. That's all I'm saying. Everyone has to vote in November. That's right. November next year, we have to vote. We have to vote. And again, this is not about Mike Spano. They're trying to make it personal, and it's not. And also, speaking about personal, I'm not, I'm in this little funny situation is that, yeah, you're right, though. You're right, John. They got high salaries, 1,000%. And that's what I'm saying. We have to look at certain individuals and how did they, come about that? Did they wait and they do it the right way? Did they go through the process like everyone else has to go through the process, right? And then when it comes to promotion, is everyone who's being promoted going through the process, waiting the time, doing what they need to do? Are they worthy of that promotion, right? And so we look at that. Maybe we could trim a lot of fat there too. And so anyway, going back before I get off, speaking about personal, I put a post up about a daycare center. Now, first I want to say this, individual, but I don't know the individual that's associated with owns the daycare. I do not know him personally, so it's not a personal thing about that individual. In fact, there has been someone who had came to me at one point and said, "Hey, this dude, the owner of that daycare specifically, he did this, that, and the third, right? And so I want to come on your show and I want to air him out." That's exactly what this person said. This must have been like 3 weeks ago, right? I want to air this person out, right? Air. And I get it. I understand, when you feel a certain way, I get it. So I totally feel, you know what I mean? And so rather than say, okay, great, let's come on Basement Politics and just air this individual out and talk about his business, because, you know what I'm saying? And I haven't said nothing else, even though I was, it kind of was aired out to me. But what I said is this, and look, that's not the way to go about things. He's not a politician, right? He's not an elected official. I speak about elected officials. I speak about the corruption happening here in the city of Yonkers, and it affects everybody. Even some people that make negative comments about me are being affected, but then, okay, whatever, right? That's a whole nother story. But I didn't do that, right? I didn't say, hey, yeah, let's go air this person out, right? And I said, nah. In my belief, the best way to get revenge, if you feel like you want some revenge, I'm not saying, I don't know what the case is, but if that's what you feel, the best way to go about it is to just be successful. Do your thing and be successful. So I want to clarify that by saying it's not a personal thing, right? Because if it was, I could have let this person air out the things, and that's not what I want to do, right? But it's about a matter of, fairness. If you're going to, and again, somebody sent me those pictures, right? And I'm talking about the daycare center the post that I recently made. Somebody sent me that, and people were upset because of what was happening to me through the Yonkers Voice. And so, believe it or not, that has caused now more people to come out and speak to me. A lot more people, and I appreciate it. I'm so very grateful for it. A lot more people, very grateful, and people, saw this and they took a picture of it and they sent me the flyer and they said, hey, hey, look, I mean, if we want to talk about how fair the building department is and how fair is, and enforcement and things like that. If, then, it's if it's newsworthy under Yonkers Voice, Yonkers Newswire and everything, and why is it not newsworthy here? Right? Why is it only that I'm newsworthy? Right? You know what I'm saying? So it's not about any personal. It's about that, someone said, hey, this is what's happening. It's news, just like any other piece of information that I receive and I put on there. But there's other information that I received about certain individuals that I don't put up there because it's not relevant. It is negative, but it's not relevant. And that's not the goal. The goal is not to be negative. And so I wish people would see the difference, right? And I'm talking to you specifically, John, right? I wish people would see the difference in that, the post that I put up is pictures of someone who said, hey, this daycare also operates as a social lounge, right? An adult social lounge. Here are the pictures. Here's the flyer of an event happening there. And that was the day. That was the night. And it's open and you see individuals there. So the pictures and everything that there, I don't have to say anything other than what the allegations are. And then you see that. And then you can say, hey, that's what it looks like, right? Exactly. It's not outside of what the pictures say, unlike what my daycare was accused of, which was child pornography, guns. I was beating up a parent, and drugs was in there and all that stuff, right? So it's like overboard. And on top of that, that same day, I got CPS was called, right? So here's what's interesting. Here's very interesting stuff. So folks, listen, I'm good with math. When always 2 and 2 for me, always gets 4. Always get 4, right? And Gerard's a good dude. Listen, I don't know. I'm not saying anything bad about Gerard. He probably is a good dude. He earns his keep. Shout out to you, Gerard Spano. Got no issues with you. I don't know about your baby bro, though. I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, so going back to what I was saying, I'm good at math, and I've always 2 and 2. I always get 4. I find it very interesting, however, that I received an email. Check this out, folks. I received an email from someone that I had never received an email from ever. This person had emailed me the press release to that daycare center's grand opening ceremony. On the same day, Friday the 18th, that Rurose put that video out on Yonkers Voice, and I had CPS come to my daycare center the same day. And then they emailed it to me again that Saturday morning. And on top of that, the person who emailed it to me messaged me on Facebook and said, hey, I want to know, did you get the email? I said, yes, thanks. And I posted that up there. So it was like, I don't know you. Why would you send me this? You know who I am. You know what this up with that. They already know that. Come on. So it's like, that's the games. That's games. Oh, you don't email me ever, but you want to email me the press release for the grand opening ceremony of that daycare center on the same day that video comes out and CPS is at my daycare center. Yo, and then you want to message me to make sure I see it. Did you see it? Did you get it? Right? I mean, come on. It's super petty, man. It's super petty. But you know what? At the end of the day, it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. You could be there. Good. My issue is not that. My issue is just the process, the way the process goes for certain people versus other people. And this is something that's been unfair for a lot of people, not just me. This is not just my issue. I'm not the only one that's had an issue with the systems at the building department. And I'm hearing that many permits have been issued illegally and that the IG came to the mayor about it recently and he told the mayor to ignore it. And we have a lot of documents, folks. So, certain individuals, before you make any posts, I'm light years ahead of you. I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics. Thank you, folks. I'm up out of here. That's it. So it's not personal. But folks, honestly, I know you guys are smart people. You are smart people. You're watching this show. You're very intelligent people. Go look at that. Think about that. Look at the post. Come on. Was that kind of taunting or what? I could be wrong. But hey, you never know. I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics Unfiltered, man. Join me on Monday. Tomorrow, I may do my interview with the city clerk podcast. If not, I will be doing part 2 of the Spano years. You're gonna go up a little bit in years. I'm Freddie Vasquez. I'm up out of here. Thank you, folks. Sorry about the mute thing. I'm never gonna mute it again. I'm not gonna give somebody my phone number. But you know what? My phone. I know. Never pick up, right? Okay. Mad. Sorry. I'm so mad. Was it really 10 minutes? Damn.
Ready, win. Fatality.
I am Freddie Vasquez. I got likes to mute himself and talk. That was my Spano Years episode. I might just do it again, record it, and then just put it out. But thank you, folks. I appreciate you for bearing with me and watching and supporting anyway. And again, it's not personal. I put information on, and by the way, listen. By the way, I do want to say that I emailed that person. I did. I emailed the person that emailed me the what do you call it? The release, the press release, right? I emailed that person back saying, hey, by the way, I just want to let you know that I got these photos and stuff about the center being also a night lounge, a nightclub, a social lounge or whatever, right? So I did reach out to try to get some, I did reach out. I did my journalistic duties. I did reach out. So, I want to show that here. I did reach out. I did my journalistic duties. So check this out. All right. So the CPS people, Ruros puts the video out on Friday. Oh man, it's almost to around the same time. I start getting it at 2:00, right? Look, they email me this person, right? And this is what they email me. Right? It's the press release for the thing, talking about the after school program, summer sports program and all that, 3 sites throughout Yonkers and within Yonkers public schools on the same day that I got that. I just thought that was kind of petty, you know what I'm saying? But I thought that was kind of petty. But anyway, I'm not lying, but I did email them back. I did try to get a statement from them. I'm not just trying to, ambush people. I did reach out first. Nobody responded. So, we did what, we put the thing. So they said they're going to reach out to him for consideration. I haven't heard back. But, I got an email that same day that my daycare center was attacked to let them know about their center daycare center opening up. Come on now. All right, yeah, whatever. It's all good, though. It's all good.
I was raised in housing.
Ready, win.
Folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. Make sure you join me tomorrow. I apologize again for the fucking mute, man. The Spano years. Has Mike Spano done a good job? Folks, email me with your comments. I want to do a thing where people email me and maybe I can read your email on the podcast. So if you have something you want to say, something you want to talk about, email me if you want your email to be read on the podcast. Please, just keep it proper. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Have a beautiful, blessed night.
Ready, win. Fatality.
Email address is politicwithfred@gmail.com. Email politicwithfred@gmail.com. Can't go to it. Please.
No!
Give me my water. Give me my water, soldier.